Roki Sasaki made his stateside debut, and I have three main takeaways after looking at his shape and velocity data that we're going to dig into in this video. This is kind of a third video in a series here on two that I did late last year, both of them digging into Sasaki's NPB data from 2024 and kind of guesstimating what he would become in MLB. But now that we have that information, there's no more need for speculation. We kind of have a very good idea of how he's going to look. And Rob Friedman, pitching ninja, has the splitter, which is my first takeaway. This is perhaps wackier of a pitch than I initially thought. And I knew it had less arm side movement. That was the main takeaway. It was like, okay, this thing's not moving as much to his arm side. It's almost like a gyro split to some extent, spinning like a bullet, but it's such low spin interval. It's a weird pitch, but it's even weirder than I thought. And I think you could see that through a lot of the hit reactions here. This is probably the worst swing of the night against the offering. I don't know. That guy just didn't see it. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's a fastball to set that pitch up, something along those lines. Ninja with more shots here of this offering. Just everyone is off on this pitch. And that's a fascinating point. That supplemental hitter information I think is so important. I love digging into the data, but oftentimes you'll see pitches that look great in the data and then hitters just nail them. That is not the case at all with Sasaki. It's good data and hitters are not able to touch the offering. I will point out though, the velocity is lower on this split compared to MPB. So he's 86 miles per hour yesterday with negative 5 inches of induced vertical break. When we jump back to 2024 MPB for him, he was throwing 88 on this splitter and it had an inch of vertical break. The vertical break and velocity are probably connected. As the velo is dropping, there's probably more room for that pitch to create that induced drop we're talking about that is so devastating. But I'm fascinated in mainly the variance this pitch has, and that is probably the oddest part of it. Alex Fast had a nugget that I don't believe he's tweeted out yet, but we were texting a bit about it. He does stuff for MLB, super sharp mind. He looked at all splitters in this low spin interval and found that the standard deviation of the amount of arm side or glove side movement, so that horizontal that those get, is somewhere around like 3.5 inches or so. Sasaki's is almost up around 5 inches. So you'll hear a lot of the time, and I even heard Dave Roberts say that, okay, this pitch just looks like a fastball. You don't know if it's going to move left or right, etc. And that's fair, but this is in a whole nother stratosphere of that, where this is running into a lot more variance than we'd almost expect. Perhaps this curtails over time, but I really don't think it will. I think this is just a feature of the offering. It is probably due in part to the low spin, creating variance, but there's something else going on here in terms of how he's delivering the ball or how it's spinning or how the air is interacting with the ball that creates this much lateral variance on the offering, which you could see on this plot, right? He's got like 8 of these that are clipping to his glove side, which is left of this vertical line right here. And the interesting thing too, I actually confirmed with someone in the Dodgers organization that it is one orientation on the pitch. But the key difference is that he speculated, this individual, that Sasaki probably manipulates the offering slightly. My guess to supplement that information is that I think this may be based on the handedness of hitter that he's facing. If you look at left-handed hitters in particular, you get 4 of these glove side splitters, so to speak, that variance, right? That it's biased towards his glove side when he's facing lefties in particular. So it's almost like he's cutting the pitch more versus lefties than if you were to look at it versus righties. See, look at how much more this concentration is over here. He does have a couple that clip to his glove side, but that's like a 3-4 inch difference just based on handedness of the pitch alone. So I wonder, okay, one orientation, but maybe that manipulation we're talking about is coming based on what his release or visual cue is when he's facing lefties versus righties. But it's a nasty pitch, dropping well more than your average split. Average splits, I think, somewhere around 2 to 3 inches of induced vertical break. He's down at 5. It's crazy. Like, this offering is, I get it doesn't maybe grade out well, but that's probably because these models don't really know what to go off. It's perhaps already one of the few unicorn pitches in baseball. I think Devin Williams' changeup screwball thing is a unicorn. I think this Sasaki split's a unicorn. We just don't see pitches that are dropping this much at this velo with this much variance. I'll also point out that we go back to this plot and take a look at his slider. He threw 3 of them. Now, I speculated when I was doing my videos on him that the slider was a pitch I thought would be adjusted. He throws hard. He doesn't have good spin capacity, right? If we jump back here, we can see that the spin on this slider was 1860. That is crazy low. That's probably bottom, 10 in the league, right? He has very low spin capacity. As a byproduct of that, I thought the move would just be to take whatever slider he's throwing and jack up the velocity on it, right? He's sitting 98 on his four-seam fastball. He should be able to throw some kind of 92-ish mile per hour weird cutter gyro ball slider thing that could work versus right-handed hitters. You see the slider. My takeaway is the Dodgers didn't touch this pitch from MPB. It was 83.6 with 10 inches of sweep. And when we jump and see it stateside here, again, small sample, but 83, 12 inches of sweep. I don't think they added 2 inches of sweep. I think this is the same offering. We saw them do a comparable thing with Yamamoto, where they didn't do anything for like a month, and then you saw in May, late April, early May, they gave him a sinker and gave him a slider. I wonder if that's the approach here, where he wants to throw the slider, maybe he's cutting the heck out of it. Sure, that's totally fine. But eventually, I would bet that this slider either gets beat up or isn't thrown a ton, and it becomes the reality that he just needs something harder in this kind of cuttery window to throw that could stitch the repertoire together versus right-handed hitters in particular and work. It's a good pitch from the perspective that he throws hard, but it's not a good pitch from the spin capacity perspective and the total amount of movement he'll be able to get. And the Dodgers also don't really have a lot of their starting pitchers throw lateral sweepers. I think they had one of the lowest percents of sweeper usage in innings 1 through 5 last year, which is my kind of cheat way to figure out sweeper usage in starting pitchers in particular. And that gets to another point. The Dodgers also throw a lot of fastballs away. So as we look at Sasaki here, this pitch in particular, watch. Catcher set up outer third of the plate. Sasaki dotting pitch outer third of the plate. Because his shape isn't good, right? So we see 14 inches of induced vertical break at a 6-2 release. It's well below average. The velo's well above average, right? Average 4 seems like 94. So he's 4 ticks above average, but he's probably about 2.5 inches of vertical break below average. Not particularly great. And because of that, the pitch is probably not going to eat at the top of the zone. So what the Dodgers love doing is just throwing this pitch away as opposed to elevating it. Maybe he does occasionally with 2 strikes, gets it way above the zone just to get swing and miss because he throws hard. But I don't expect this pitch to blow hitters away. It's probably going to end up with maybe even a below average amount of swinging strikes. But that is the key thing to take away. He's going to throw this pitch away. It's all velo dependent on the offering. I feel like the inevitability here is for him to add some kind of sinker. We will see just from looking at this, right? If he's throwing that away, then he has the sweeper, which is also away, and then the splitter, which is more down. You think about how much of the zone he's not covering, up in inner third, etc. So from a pitching plot perspective, it's just pretty standard for him to probably add some kind of sinker eventually. I know these more efficient spin fastball guys generally don't create great sinker shapes, but we've seen other guys like Tariq Skubal. I know he's a lefty, but he added a sinker and can locate it. I think we're getting to the point where efficient fastball guys should just be throwing sinkers, especially if they can throw hard, which is, again, one of the key features of Roki Sasaki, just to add some sinker. And then he's probably going to add, again, some harder slider in here. But doesn't take away from the fact that this guy is sick. And the splitter in particular, I think I downplayed how unique it was. And I'll admit, in those videos I made in the past, too, I did think I probably undersold how good he could be. I thought he would get beat up a bit initially because, again, the fastball shape isn't particularly great. But the split may be good enough and unique enough to have this pitch be thrown 45, 50% of the time and not really have to run into issues with it. We'll see exactly how many innings he goes in Japan and as he's stretched out, but I expect this pitch to be prominently featured, the splitter. And if anyone's going to beat him, it's going to be on the 4-seam of the slider. I'm just highly skeptical that everyone's going to touch this split. Even if it's up in the zone, I just think the movement on it is so crazy at 86 miles per hour that it's not really going to matter that much. But this guy is super fun. It was a blast to watch him yesterday. I was pretty hyped. So those are my 3 main takeaways. I hope you enjoyed. Screen record style here, just trying to get this up quick because I know this is a hot topic. As always, check out my Substack below. TJ Stats pitch plots, I'll also link below. And thanks as always for watching.